All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome into another fun-filled, action-packed episode of the Full Press Saints podcast, of course, part of the Full Press Coverage Network. What's good? It's your host, Alec, joined by my man, Dayton. It's been a rather busy day for the Houdat Nation. Some big extensions came up today, leading to possibly the addition of some more players, as well as with some fun lists and rankings we'll get into heading into this 2021 season. But first, before we get any of that, Dayton, good man, how you doing today?
Hello, Alec. I'm doing great. It's good to be back talking about this. Big news, too, to talk about. Just so happens we're going to record today anyway, and then this news drops this morning. So
Beautiful.
It's all perfect timing. Personally doing great. Daughter is 4 weeks old today, which is awesome. She's growing up way too fast already. And we're getting over a massive heat wave we had over the weekend here up in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, it was breaking actual records for all-time heat here up near Portland. The old record was... it was 107, I believe, and it well surpassed that. It got into the 110s. Where I live specifically, it got up to 115 on Monday, and that is the hottest weather I definitely have ever been in, and probably will be in a long time. I've even been to Vegas in the middle of August, and it has not hit 115. It's been close, it's been like 110, 111, but still. So, but it's cooling down now. Everything's going great. Got this good news, Ramczyk. I'm excited to talk about, and yeah, it's good. It's good. How you doing?
Whew. Chilling as always. Can't really complain too much. Living life. And now we got this huge news regarding the Saints, and I will let you dive into that. Actually, talk a little bit about what has happened today.
Yes, so the best right tackle in all of football is now the highest paid right tackle in all of football. Ryan Ramczyk, of course, the first round, 32nd overall pick back in 2017, made by the New Orleans Saints, just signed a contract extension we have all been waiting for. It was a 5-year, $96 million contract, $60 million guaranteed there for Ryan Ramczyk. It is a average salary of $19.2 million per season, which, again, is the highest paid for any right tackle in the league. And if you follow us on Twitter, at SaintsFPC, go follow us if you haven't already. We already tweeted this, so if you follow us on Twitter, you've already seen this. But $19.2 million per year for Ramczyk is $1.2 million over the next highest paid right tackle in the league, which is Lane Johnson. And this also makes Ramczyk the fourth highest paid offensive tackle in all of football, period. So well-deserved, great player. He has been consistently dominant. It's safe to say not only has he been good at his position, he's been absolutely dominant at his position. Mm-hmm. The best right tackles in the league over the stretch that he's been in the league on the Saints.
Only one missed career game, I might add. Extremely durable.
Yeah, I mean he has started just about every single game he possibly could. He has been incredible for this team, and it's helped to be one of the best offenses in the league. One of the best rushing attacks in the league, and one of the best offensive lines in the league. He's been the anchor there since 2017. And it's just been phenomenal to see him develop, and well worth the money that we're going to pay him regardless of what happens, because he's already contributed so much to the team, and I'm excited to see him flourish. And this is great for a guy who was really considering a career in welding, not football, before he ended up entering the NFL draft. So, like him for getting this massive payday, like good for him, like almost $20 million per year for a career that you at one point were considering not going into. I mean, you know, the guy has got to be on cloud nine, and he puts in the work as if, you know, this is his calling, which I love about him. But yeah, anchored to this line, gonna be great for us, especially with Teron Armstead's future with the team. Also, his age kind of will factor into that, but his future with the team is questionable. And we'll see. He's getting up there, obviously, in years, but would love to see him stick around and keep that duo going. But that offensive line now, you know, obviously don't care much for that Andres Pete contract, but Andres Pete is in the books for a little bit now. Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz are both very young guys, too. So that offensive line, good players, young players for the most part, and they are intact on the roster for a while. So shout out to the Saints front office. Now, for the contract specifics, nothing has really come out. We don't know what Ryan Ramczyk is getting paid his first year, his last year, anything in between. We just know his average annual salary based off of the total money over 5 years is going to be $19.2 million per year. Now, if that's what he makes every year, if that's what he starts making in 2022, which is when the contract will kick in, he will be the third highest paid player on the Saints. Now, he could make more, he could make less, but most likely he will be the third highest paid player on the Saints behind Cameron Jordan, who is making $22.8 million in 2022, which is a 11% cap hit on the, or 11% of the cap for the Saints. Mm-hmm. And Michael Thomas is going to be making $24.7 million in 2022. So right behind both of those guys is going to be Ryan Ramczyk. He's making more than Alvin Kamara per year. Remember, Alvin Kamara signed a 5-year, $75 million contract extension. Offensive line. Again, the offensive line market gets reset just about every single season. And the three guys ahead of Ryan Ramczyk in terms of annual salary for offensive tackles, it's Trent Williams, who's getting over $23 million per year with his new contract from the 49ers. David Bakhtiari for the Green Bay Packers, and then Laramie Tunsil, who also recently signed a contract extension there with the Houston Texans. He's a first-round pick for the Dolphins, gets traded, signs that contract extension. And these are all very recent contracts, so the market keeps getting reset. So now the right tackle market has been reset. Lane Johnson reset it a few seasons ago. Ramczyk resets it. He's getting paid almost as much as, again, the highest paid or the second highest paid left tackle. So the tackle market getting reset again. Glad the Saints are able to do it, get it done. And looks like right now they're going to be negative in cap space quite a bit for 2022, but that's before any cuts or restructures, and that's before we know the final number for the 2022 cap space. So and they're getting it done.
The cap will be even higher in 2022 as well.
For sure. For sure. Right now, they're projected to be, without Ryan Ramczyk's contract, they're projected to be negative $4 million. And I believe that's with a very optimistic cap space in mind. So the Ramczyk, if he gets paid, let's say he gets paid $18 million, they're going to be negative $22 million before any other extensions. And Marshawn Lattimore and Marcus Williams are the other two guys we're waiting for. We've been waiting for Ramczyk, Lattimore, and Williams to get their contract extensions. And Ramczyk is the first to come off the books for that, which is fantastic. Lattimore and Williams are up next if the Saints decide to go that route. Again, it's going to be piling on more money for next season, but it's going to be saving us more money for this season. Speaking of which, before I pass it off to Alec to get more in depth about the Saints saving money for this season and possibly who they could get, not only do I want to know your thoughts on Ryan Ramczyk, his contract and whatnot, but also I'll say this. I believe this, obviously, I don't think this is going to go down as Mickey Loomis's greatest draft pick. He's had a lot of good draft picks. I don't think this will be his quote-unquote best draft pick. Mm-hmm. But I think when it is all said and done, picking Ryan Ramczyk will be the standard, or the, I guess the right word for the Ryan Ramczyk pick and what it means for Mickey Loomis's legacy. Like, that is his defining pick. I think Ryan Ramczyk is going to go down as the defining pick for Mickey Loomis because Ryan Ramczyk was not their first guy. They wanted there at 32. Reuben Foster was on the phone with the team, and the 49ers pulled the rug out from the Saints. They pick him at 31. They jump him. And now the Saints are sitting there going, well, what are we going to do? We wanted Reuben Foster was, they wanted him so bad that they were on the phone with him the pick before. Like, they really wanted this guy. 49ers jump. They got to adjust. They go with Ryan Ramczyk. And he's been the best right tackle in all of football. He's going to go down, if he continues how he's played over the first 4 seasons of his career, he is going to go down as one of the greatest offensive tackles in NFL history. So, the fact that they were able to draft him, by the way, trading Brandon Cooks for the first-round pick that got Ryan Ramczyk is also an underrated move, simply for the fact that Brandon Cooks will still be valuable in the Saints system. But he wanted out. The Saints got great value from him, and Brandon Cooks ends up being traded 2 more times over his career after he goes to the Patriots. So that whole kind of series by Mickey Loomis is very defining for him. It shows how great he is at evaluating, shows how great the Saints scouting department, front office, how they operate, shows how great they are. And I think that will go down as the defining pick for Mickey Loomis because just the adjustment he had to make, the circumstances he was given, and the player that he was able to get, it's incredible. I'm so glad to be a fan of this team with this kind of front office. So it's just on cloud 9 now that Ramczyk is going to be in the books, and that's just one thing off of our backs that we have to worry about. So yep. I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, you look at Marshall Lattimore, who restructured his fifth-year deal to help the Saints gain more cap room. He probably is due for an extension. Marcus Williams, the Saints have until July 15th to get that extension done before the franchise tag deadline is up. Possibly Teron Armstead heading into his final year of his deal. We'll wait and see what happens there. Also, a big week for the Ramczyk family. Their kid was born just a few days ago, Jackson Mark Ramczyk. So
yes,
and then Ryan, of course, secures a pretty nice payload, which of course he deserves. Ever so. I mean, and I think the thing with Mickey Loomis, as you brought up, is you got to forget, where they were before 2017, right? 3 straight years, 7-9, poorly drafting, and swinging and missing badly on free agents. From 14 to 16. So, that draft class and Ramczyk in particular, because they traded away Cooks for that last pick in the first round, and we all thought, who the hell's Ryan Ramczyk?
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out ultimately. So, I mean, with that, they have the estimated cap number out for how much the Saints do save. Ryan Ramczyk was due roughly $11.64 million this year with the fifth-year option. With the Saints, with the extension, they clearing roughly $5.56 million. And that's the appearance by Teddy Fourpaws in the background. He has this, I believe that's the banana. I've learned the toy sounds based on this because he's in the other room. I learned which toy makes what sound. That's the Christmas banana. It's hilarious. It's a smiley banana with the Christmas Santa hat. But
you go, Teddy.
He's going ham on that banana. But yeah. So the Saints do shave about 5.6 in cap. Obviously, they met with Drake Kirkpatrick earlier this offseason. Of course, the ties to Richard Sherman still very possible. Maybe they could look to add a veteran, a Benny Fowler Jr. type kind of receiver, or a tight end. And I think me personally, one of my favorite big ticket free agents that is still available is KJ Wright from the Seahawks. I don't know why he's not been signed yet. Because really, outside of Demario Davis, there's no penciled starter at the linebacker position. It could be Pete Warner, it could be Zach Bond, could be Caden Ellis for all we know. We'll wait and see. But I would like them to drop a nice little payday for KJ Wright before I go with corner or wide receiver. But that's just me. So yeah, this right here does mean that now all the attention will go towards Marshawn Lattimore. Probably getting some kind of extension done, or at least talks of it. So we'll wait and see what happens. But Ramczyk's one of the best in the game at what he does. It's just crazy. There's a big market between right and left tackles, because the left tackles, they're usually most quarterbacks are right-handed, so they are protecting the blind side, if you will.
Right.
So
the thing about the NFL now too, though, is I think it'll transform. I think it'll take a few more years too. We'll see how offenses go, but a lot of NFL coaches will tell you that quarterbacks don't really have a blind side in today's NFL because of the progression reads they're asking for quarterbacks, the extra protection that they can throw at with running backs, tight ends, and whatnot. But you have to have at least one good tackle. You look at Tristan Wirfs. I mean, he played right tackle, correct?
Yes. Yeah, him and Donovan Smith.
That's right. Donovan Smith is already established, too, in the NFL as a great left tackle anyway. So, but Tristan Wirfs could be a starting left tackle. And look at Penei Sewell, who is probably going to be playing right tackle there for the Detroit Lions because they already have a good left tackle. So in today's NFL, your best tackle doesn't always have to be the left tackle.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it is important to have that quote-unquote blind side protect, and that's why left tackles get paid. But I think the NFL is going to start changing in that sense.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, Ramczyk's easily deserving of being, one of the top paid linemen. He is an absolute mauler. Only missed one game in his entire career so far. So durability is your best ability, or something along those lines. I forget what the saying is. Availability is your best ability. Same thing. But when you're really good, availability is even better, right? So
exactly.
Kudos to Ryan Ramczyk. And as you mentioned, to the Saints as well, Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis, Kyle Kyra Lewis for getting this done. And people forget we were over 100 million over the cap this year. And the Saints have addressed it with some key hogs at like the Nick Van Nets, the Alex Armas, the fullback that they signed from Carolina. They went out and signed their entire draft class. They went out and franchise tagged Marcus Williams and extended Ryan Ramczyk and brought back Jameis Winston. So, in my eyes, this is a great offseason.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
if you can extend whether somebody else, whether it's Lattimore, Armstead, or Marcus Williams, hey, even better. But yeah, so let's look at some of these PFF rankings I have pulled up here. Now, Dayton, I believe you've already looked at this, right?
I have. I was actually just looking at it again too.
Okay.
I was about to say, speaking of Marcus Williams, PFF top 50 list. Yes.
So let's just kind of skim through some of these positions they have. I believe they have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, interior defensive line, the edge rushers, linebackers, slot corners, outside corners, and safeties. So, quarterbacks, obviously, we don't know who's going to start, whether it's Jameis or Taysom, but they are PFF ranks them 24th on this list, behind Carson Wentz of the Colts, but ahead of Justin Fields and the Bears. I feel like people are really sleeping on Jameis Winston if he were to become the starter, right? I think he's a guy who, I know we mentioned, the 30 interceptions and the 10 fumbles he had in his last year as a starter in Tampa. But I mean, the kid's proven that when he has weapons around him, he can make plays, extend plays. He has the arm. And with Sean Payton, I feel like he's the guy who's going to put his offensive players in the best position to help Jameis succeed and limit the turnovers. So I feel like 24 is a little too disrespectful. But I do get it because we truly do not know who the starter is. And if it were to be Taysom, 24 is probably right where, he would be. But, again.
And just so, because I know there's multiple PFF lists out right now. For those listening, Alec is talking about the one that's ranking each positional group for every team in terms of all 32. Yeah. There's also the top 50 list that we're also going to talk about. But for this specifically for quarterbacks, yes, 24 is very low because, and I think it's bogged down due to turnovers. Both Taysom has a fumbling problem, Winston has an interception problem. Mm-hmm. And if either one of those guys is playing, and those problems flare up, you're not going to be winning games with turnovers. You're not going to be having, great stat lines because the turnovers really bog those down. So, if either of those flare up for either of those guys, whoever ends up starting for the team, I think that's kind of what they're factoring in there. But in terms of production, Jameis Winston, again, can throw 30 touchdowns and nearly 5,000 yards in his sleep. That was with a good receiving core in Tampa. He has a good receiving core here with New Orleans. And with Taysom, though, what he provides for this quarterback depth chart for the Saints is a lot of versatility. Obviously, he plays a lot of positions, and I wish they would have. I don't think they really factor that into their ranking. Taysom Hill brings more to the table as a backup quarterback than any other backup quarterback in the league.
True.
Other than maybe, if you talk about, the Justin Fields kind of Andy Dalton dynamic, Andy Dalton with his expertise and his veteran presence is probably going to be the starter. Then you say Justin Fields is one of the better backups in the league. But if you actually talk about production, versatility, what they bring to the table, I think the Saints quarterback core is definitely the tops in the league for that. They might not be the best in terms of throwing the ball, but what they bring to the table is definitely better than 24th. So
that's fair. I can get behind that. Not running back now. Alvin Kamara 5th.
Yes.
And I feel like, to me, generally speaking, that the guys ahead of him are probably people's consensus top 4 backs in the NFL. You kind of put the order whenever you want. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, which I wouldn't put McCaffrey at 3. I would swap Kamara and McCaffrey, in my opinion, and then Chubb at 4, which I feel like that's expected. I think people will tell you those 5 backs are the best 5 backs in the NFL, and you can put them in whatever order you want.
Yeah, they missed the best running back, Lamar Jackson. No, I'm just kidding. Alvin Kamara is, yes, he is 5th, which, is kind of low. 39th overall in the PFF top 50, which is I think it's low. He's just so dynamic and whatnot. And I just love watching him play football. I just feel like both of those placings are low. But yeah, when I was first looking through the list, I almost thought that they forgot Christian McCaffrey. I thought he was going to be a top 10 guy. But due to the injury, I'm sure that kind of bogged him down. So I was surprised, actually, to see them ranking Nick Chubb ahead of Alvin Kamara, even though I don't know if I really agree with it because he has missed time. But if you actually factor in Nick Chubb, if he was healthy for his entirety in the NFL, his numbers would be absolutely monster, man.
From last year alone, yes.
Last year alone, too, right? Yeah, I mean, like, come on, the dude is bonkers. But, I respect the rankings. I respect Alvin Kamara. I think he's a top 3 running back like you. But, if you want to say he's top 5, I absolutely respect and I agree with that. Again, he's very versatile. He can catch the ball in the backfield. Him and Christian McCaffrey are the 2 most versatile players in the NFL, period. So when we actually talk about pure running, downhill running, and Derrick Henry can also catch the ball in the backfield. When we actually talk about pure running back, Derrick Henry is the number 1 guy. I think Kamara is better than Dalvin. I think Dalvin Cook is the guy who should be 5th or 6th. Just because, I don't know. Maybe I just need to watch a little more Dalvin Cook tape, but he is just kind of bland to me. If that makes, like, I don't ever see many Dalvin Cook mind-blowing highlights, even though he is a productive guy, but he gets so many carries in that Minnesota offense. It's kind of like I almost wish he would be making more plays. And he's not as good out of the backfield as McCaffrey, Kamara, or even Derrick Henry. So, yeah, I would have Kamara at either 3 or 4. I think Nick Chubb belongs in that conversation as well. But, yeah, I think it's Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. Those are going to be my top 4 guys. I'm slotting Kamara right in there at 3 or even 2. So, yeah.
I dig it.
I mean, I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I dig it. I think if you go back and watch Dalvin Cook last year, fully healthy, 16-game Dalvin Cook, he was nasty. There was, there's the game against the Packers, I remember in particular, where he had 200 yards, I think. But, okay, yeah, that's fair. Wide receivers, Michael Thomas, and with this group, the wide receiver rankings, it's multiple wide receivers from multiple teams, so, like, the 29th and 30th ranked wide receivers were Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. As we expected, Michael Thomas is the only Saint to be ranked in the top 32 of these wide receivers. Number 7, he is behind Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Allen Robinson, Julio, A.J. Brown, which, given the injury-plagued year of Mike Thomas, I'm not going to argue that. I think 7 is the perfect spot for him. And I think if I were to mock my top 10 receivers, 7 is exactly where I would put Mike Thomas as well entering this year.
Yeah, A.J. Brown ahead of him. I don't know.
A.J. Brown's disgusting.
Dude,
he is disgusting.
And he played great on a broken leg last. Like, I'm not knocking anything from A.J. Brown. But if I'm ranking receivers, I'm putting Michael Thomas over A.J. Brown. No disrespect to A.J. Brown at all. And definitely Michael Thomas's injury-ridden season plays a factor into it. So I absolutely understand that. But if you put in front of me a fully healthy Michael Thomas and a fully healthy A.J. Brown, I'm taking a fully healthy Michael Thomas. Like 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, 11 times out of 10. I'm taking Michael Thomas over A.J. Brown right now. This season could change it. If A.J. Brown is healthy and puts up the numbers that he did last year plus some, I mean, then that's definitely an argument. And if Michael Thomas doesn't give more mind-blowing numbers, then that definitely. But are we forgetting about Michael Thomas's 2019 season? I mean, come on, man. He was the best receiver in football, and he was one of the best receivers in football in 2018. He's been one of the best receivers in football ever since he's come into the league. 2016. He has numbers that blow a lot of people out of the water. So ranking him 7th is just crazy to me, but I guess it makes sense when you do factor in his injury season. A.J. Brown's the only guy I have an actual issue with him being ranked above, but he's 44th.
Teddy he's taking the banana in and out of this room, so if for those listening, apologize.
That's all right. He's 44th on the list, by the way, the PFF top 50 list. 44th for Michael Thomas, I think, is respectable. So
that is.
I like that.
That is. Tight ends we're going to skip because I think we all know where the Saints tight ends are going to rank. Adam Trautman, the 30th out of the 32 tight ends. We're gonna skimmer past that one. The edge rushers, however, we have 2 guys. finally, two Saints players in these PFF rankings. Cam Jordan 6 and Marcus Davenport 26. How do you feel about that? Does that feel about just right to you?
Yeah, it's hard to kind of rank. I mean, there's a lot of good edge guys here in the entire NFL, really. Especially, I mean, just in the NFC alone, there's a lot of good guys. But 6 for Cameron Jordan. I'm glad that they are still giving him respect. He had a down year last year, but that gave resurgence to Trey Hendrickson. A lot of Trey Hendrickson's sacks could have been Cam Jordan's had he not been double and triple teamed a lot of the year. So I respect that. Davenport, I mean, 26th. We're gonna have to see more from Davenport for me to really make any sort of final consensus on him. But I think, again, respectable. I think PFF is doing a respectable job for the Saints. They definitely keep them in mind when they do these rankings, and they know the greatness of the team. So I respect it for sure. So far, all these players have been pretty accurate. So
yeah, I mean, with Marcus Davenport in particular, he is a guy who you want to say not lived up to the expectations, because considering we did trade up for him, he was supposed to be the final piece of that 2018 roster to kind of help take this team to the Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. This is a big year for Davenport, I think he's a guy who, they drafted Peyton Turner in the first round for a reason, right? Like, they felt comfortable taking this kid in the first round for a reason. And this is it for Marcus Davenport. I think this is his time to really take that step, maybe be that Trey Hendrickson type year where, he kind of just breaks out of nowhere. As for Cam Jordan, 6 to me is pretty reasonable. I think the guys ahead of him include, the Myles Garretts of the world, the Khalil Max, TJ Watt, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. Not going to argue that whatsoever, especially when you consider that, Cam, I don't want to be that guy, but, the sack numbers weren't there. How do you want to interpret that? I think Cam is still fine. Still one of the best defensive ends in football all around. Let me add that in. One of the best all-around defensive ends in football. So, 6 is fair. And Davenport, 26, that's whatever, man.
Yeah, just need more tape on him.
Yeah, this to me is going to be a big year for him. The Saints did exercise the 5th-year option, so there's that. Mm-hmm. So,
and then drafted Peyton Turner. Same day.
Proceeded draft.
Same day.
So, yes, very interesting to see how all that unfolds. But 26, that's fair. So, let's talk about these linebackers now. One Saint, Demario Davis 5th. He is behind Levante David, Eric Kendricks, Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner. I think those top 6, when you throw in Darius Leonard at 6, I think those are probably the best 6 middle linebackers in all football. When we talk about guys who can read the offenses, can play the run, play the pass, play zone, and man up when need to. Those are probably the best 6. And I'm really glad Eric Kendricks is 3rd, because he had a great underrated year. No, we talked about it enough, because the Vikings really didn't, play all that well. So Demario to be 5th, that seems about fair to me, because all those other guys ahead of him are just equally as great, if not better.
Yeah, I'm going to hate on another Vikings player again. I'm taking Demario Davis over Eric Kendricks. All the other guys ranked ahead of Demario Davis, I understand and respect for sure. I know Eric Kendricks had a great year last year, but it's like, I'm still taking Demario Davis. I think his coverage skills are just far and beyond Kendricks. But Demario Davis was one of the 13 players who just missed out on the top 50 list. For reference, Levante David was 49th on the list. So, Demario Davis not too far behind, just missed out on the cut on the top 50. But, again, respectable. Only problem I would have Demario Davis probably 4th, Kendricks 5th, and then the other 3 guys ahead of him, or I'll just swap Kendricks and Demario Davis. But I'm actually surprised Devin White was not in that top 5.
That is true.
Great year for him too, and he's been dominant ever since he came into the league. But his teammate Levante David has been dominant for far longer, so good for him for
should
getting
be
that
underrated
as well. Yes,
yeah, and say what you want about the Bucks and winning it all this year, that helped both of them get a lot of recognition on a national level. So, good for them. I think those to me are probably the best 6 linebackers in football. Maybe not in that order, but take it however you want. So
Yeah.
let's talk about corner. Marshall Lattimore ranked 18th on this list of the top corners heading into 2021 according to Pro Football Focus. 18. That seemed a little harsh to me, in all seriousness. 'Cause I think he is a top 10 corner, if you will. So,
Yeah.
But then again, I get it, because he did have if you want to call it a letdown or a down-ish year. I don't think it really was, but I mean, a lot of people did view it like that. So
Right. Before last year, I would have definitely said he's top 10. I think going into this year, top 15 is absolutely respectable and right. It's tough because consistency matters in this league, especially for cornerbacks. That's what separates the good cornerbacks from the really good and great cornerbacks is consistency. We're able to go in every single week, no matter who you're facing, and able to put up numbers. Marshall Lattimore plays down to his competition far too often.
Yes.
Gives up a lot of yards against guys he shouldn't be giving up yards against. He's had playoff blunders. He's had regular season blunders. Even though he owns Mike Evans, there's still a clip of Marshall Lattimore eating dirt trying to cover a Mike Evans streak. And I believe that was week 1 of 2018. Other than that, obviously he shut down Mike Evans, but there's still a big blemish there for coverage a lot of the time. His consistency is off. I think that's why he's there at 18th. A lot of good corners in front of him. The league is now, again, with it going to passing league, a lot of really good edge guys, a lot of really good corners, or at least they're trying to get a lot of good of either one of those. It's tough to be top 15 corner in this league, and I think Marshall Lattimore is there. I think 18 is a little harsh, but I mean, he's definitely kind of taken a step back, unfortunately. And he obviously did not make the top 50. There were only so many corners on this top 50 list. And again, Marshall Lattimore wasn't one of them. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, guessing that PFF is going to be ranking him as a corner. But if they're ranking him as either one, he didn't make the top 32 for either one. I think that he's definitely a top 32 corner when you factor in slot cornerbacks. He had one of the best PFF coverage grades for a slot cornerback last season. But when you actually look at the cornerbacks in the top 50 of the PFF list, James Bradbury is there at 47th, again, for the New York Giants. And he's older. He used to play in the division, but he is still playing really well. And that's it until you get to 36, which is Bryce Callahan of the Denver Broncos. He's the 36th ranked player on this list. And I believe there are more safeties in this list than cornerbacks. Marlon Humphrey is 29th. Yeah, not a lot of corners on this list. Jalen Ramsey, of course, is there at 16, and Jair Alexander is 14th. I believe those are all the corners there. So, not too many cornerbacks on the top 50 regardless. So I really wasn't expecting Marshall Lattimore to be there anyway. But I am surprised that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is not in the top 32 for corners if they are factoring in slot cornerbacks as well. Again, if they're marking him as a safety, he still wasn't in the top 32. And I think either way that is not right. Again, he had one of the better PFF coverage grades out of the slot for last year. So respectable for Marshall Lattimore. I see it. Again, I think that he should be a little bit higher on the list. I understand. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson definitely underrated when it comes to this list here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these are the top slot corners according to PFF. It's Kenny Moore 1 from the Colts, Bryce Callahan from the Broncos, Jonathan Jones from the Patriots, Mike Hilton, who was the free agent signing from Pittsburgh, now with the Bengals, Troy Hill, who was with the Rams, now signed with the Browns. So, to me, I just don't get how Chauncey Gardner is not ranked in this as far as slot corners go, because you look at his. I believe there is a stat out on I don't know what you call it exactly. Like it was like a coverage percentage, like how many times when covered how has this corner
that's what
done?
It was.
Yeah,
yeah, because I was referencing that. I don't think it was a PFF coverage grade. I think it's what you're talking about. That he was.
I think it was maybe I think maybe the NFL
could have been.
NFL
the
Twitter
NFL,
may put it.
there you go.
Yeah, it may have been them, but it's like like top slot coverage, the percentage of how many times this guy been thrown on in coverage, and how many times has he come up as the winner. And Chelsea Gardner was like, I don't want to say he was the best because I could be wrong, but he was at least top 3.
Yep.
And I mean, he does it all, and he gets in your face, as we know. So I don't get that. But and as you mentioned, Lattimore, I think you could confidently say going into this year he's a top 15 corner. I think 20 is a little harsh, but
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think 20 is a little harsh, but certainly a top 15 corner. But again, I do get it because he has, and as you mentioned, he is to me is the textbook definition of playing down to his receiver. He'll lock down the Julios, the Mike Evans of the world, but then all of a sudden the Cedric Wilsons, the Marquez Callaways, and no jab against Marquez Callaway, but you get what I mean. All these guys who shouldn't be lighting it up like that, light it up against Marshall Lattimore.
Found it. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had a 59.5% success rate, which was the best among slot corner in 2020. And that's according to Next Gen Stats. So, yes, according to the NFL, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was the best slot cornerback in the NFL. So, yes. I don't know what PFF is talking about.
Yeah, they're on something right now. I don't know what they're on, but they're on something. Whatever it is, I kind of want to be on it too. But lastly here, I know you got a whole spiel about this last topic here. Marcus Williams ranked 4th as far as safeties go.
Yes.
He is 4th, behind John Johnson III from Cleveland, Harrison Smith from Minnesota, and Justin Simmons from Denver. So, I mean, so I'm gonna let you just take it away.
Well, so the positive thing is this PFF, and he's 48th in the top 50 PFF, 4th ranked safety. I think that they are spot on. That is, I mean, I don't know. The 3 guys in front of them you kind of interchange with however you want to define what the best safety in the NFL is. Again, Jamal Adams being left off the list has a lot of people scratching their heads. He's more of a free-for-all kind of box. He's almost a linebacker, essentially. Jeremy Chin as well, who had a fantastic rookie season. But when you actually look at the best safeties in the league, because this is a trend going along. I've seen it on TikTok, seen it on Twitter, of the top 10 safeties in the league. I've seen all these lists from people, and Marcus Williams not on a single one of them. They have guys like Justin Blackmon ahead of Marcus Williams. They have Jamal Adams ahead of Marcus Williams, which if you're talking about value in the NFL, I'm going to be taking Marcus Williams ahead of Jamal Adams.
You mean the
Marcus
linebacker?
Williams is Marcus, exactly. Yeah, Jamal Adams is a linebacker, like I just said. Marcus Williams is one of the most, if not the most underrated player in the entire NFL. I'm taking Marcus Williams over so many other safeties that people have recently been ranking ahead of Marcus Williams. I'm glad PFF got it correctly. He is the 4th, if not the 5th. I mean, if you want to argue 5th, that's fine too. He is a top 5 to 10 safety no matter how you spin it in the NFL. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's left off on so many of these top 10 lists is mind-boggling, and I think it's because people... They go back to that meaningless miracle, and he whiffs on that tackle, and he's obviously cursed. He was a rookie that year, and ever since then, he's done nothing but get better, especially at the thing that he failed at, quote unquote, during that time, tackling. He's been one of the better run support guys. He has 13 interceptions, which is more than a majority of the safeties a lot of these guys are ranking, and he does his job. He's one of the best zone safety coverage guys in the entire NFL. So I don't know why he's being left off on so many of these top 10 lists. PFF thankfully got it right. 4th ranked safety, 48th best player in the NFL. I think that both of those are extremely accurate, and I wish people would understand and watch more tape on him because he is great, and I'm excited for him to get extended if that ends up happening. I really hope it does. I think it will. But put some respect on his name. I'm glad PFF did, but you casual NFL fans need to start doing the same.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Marcus Williams that myself included, I've kind of overlooked. We talk about Minnesota, and we talk about the interceptions were great, but you mentioned it just a second ago. His run support, as of recently in these last couple of years, for him to be up on the line and blitzing or playing the run, that's something that I would have never thought Marcus Williams would have been good at. Because we specifically had Von Bell who did that, right? But when you're seeing Malcolm Jenkins line up deep safety and Marcus Williams coming creeping up a little bit to play the run, that's impressive, man. I think to me, when you look at, I don't want to compare him to Ed Reed or anything, but when you look at the Ed Reeds of the NFL, as far as just truly great coverage safeties, guys who play ball, see ball, get ball, he is certainly one of the best. You mentioned 13 interceptions. Jamal Adams has 1 in his career. And people will go out there and tell you that Jamal Adams, is a great safety, which he's not, first of all. But, the fact that they really can't justify just off the numbers alone, you can't justify that Jamal Adams is a top 15 safety in the NFL. You really can't, because
right.
So, and I get they played 2 different types of safeties, but at the same time, you can't go out there and say, oh, Jamal Adams is the top 10 safety, and then not say Marcus Williams isn't because of what happened in Minnesota, right? That's not fair.
Right.
And again,
exactly.
And I think Breeze made the comparison in what camp was going into 2018? Was it the year after Minnesota?
It's either 2018 or 2019. You're talking about when he compared him to Ed Reed.
Yeah, when he made the comment how Marcus Williams was balling out in camp like Ed Reed.
Ball hawk, kind of like him, which Marcus Williams has the ball hawk instinct, which is why he was a second-round draft pick. That's what, out of Utah, that is what he specialized in. He was a ball hawking guy, athletic safety, and that's what he's shown in the NFL. Yeah,
exactly. I know the comp's a little too big, but I mean, just in my opinion, if you look at these safeties in the NFL, I don't think not a whole lot of these guys have the numbers Marcus Williams has as far as the turnovers he brings. And, you have to give the kid a lot of credit because the thing about Marcus Williams, I really kind of went, this is the guy right here I want to have on my team. After Minnesota, the kid could have easily just, because, he wasn't a Cam Jordan or a Drew Brees or even a Mike Thomas or Alvin Kamara, where he wasn't a star on that team yet, right? So he didn't have to go talk to the media after that Minnesota game. He could have just easily put a towel over his head, sat down, and just said nothing. But he wouldn't talk to the media about how he messed up and admitted it. And you don't see a lot of guys do that when they goof up like that, right? Because he wasn't a leader. He wasn't, like the guy you'd expect to go talk. But he did. And I give kudos to that. From that moment on, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm with this kid. I like this kid as safety. He goofed up one time. He thought he was doing the right thing, which on paper, he was. He was trying to not go and get the flag on him.
Just stop talking about it. I don't want to. I'm done talking about it.
But I'm saying that's my guy.
But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, yes. From that standpoint, from that day on, I was like, you know what? I can ride with this kid as my free safety. And he's proved it. Day in and day out. I mean, he's well deserving of the tag. He should get an extension, and as you said, hopefully soon. Yes. If not, next guy after Lattimore, if he gets his. So, he's a ball hawk, man. He's a freak. There's no other way to put it. And I believe we mentioned some of the guys in the PFF top 50 going into this year. That if I'm right, the Saints have the most among all 32 NFL teams. Do you have the numbers and the who made it?
I don't have that exact. I just saw it the other day though, but they have 5. It's Marcus Williams, it's Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
those are the 5. Yes.
Yeah, which I could probably
not in that order. Yeah,
I could tell you that's probably accurate.
Because Teron Armstead is 43rd. So
yeah, so that's a very solid list there.
Yes. Love it.
This is a big day for Saints stuff.
Big day. I love it.
And of course, we will have our training camp mini-series coming up, previewing certain positions each and every day. Super hyped about that.
We're going to do one position group per episode for you guys, give you some good stuff to kind of dissect, go into the depth chart, see who's going to be going up against who we think might win, and all the info, stats you guys need for this upcoming training camp. It's going to be fun time of the year. And
for the first time in a long time, quarterback will be a main talking point.
Yes.
It never has been. So.
That will probably be our first episode, too, kick it off. So, a lot of content now.
Exactly. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that's about to wrap it up here, Dave. That was a great episode.
That's all the time we got for you guys today.
Yep. Any last words before we sign off here today?
Follow us on Twitter at SaintsFPC. And then our Twitter handles are in the bio as well there, so be sure to follow us as well. Stay up to date with everything. And thanks for listening.
Love it. All right, guys, that's going to take care of things this week from the Full Press Saints podcast. Alec and Dane signing off. We'll see you guys next week.